Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 345. This is your guide to the geek side and the companion to me, your host, Todd Oxtra, joined by Charlie Carden.
He's a companion unto himself, folks. I
kind of mixed up the old intro there. You guys are following along.
I was doing this to throw him off. Prince Shizor has returned home. I did talk about this on Holocron this past week, but Prince Shizor here was originally purchased from Argos Used Bookstore in Easttown and here in Grand Rapids. He sat on the shelf from 1996 when this item was produced for Shadows of the Empire for 20 years. I picked him up in 2016 for the negotiated price of $3. And he became our trophy for the summer movie wager. I believe I had him for a year. I think Johnny had him for the 4 years that followed. And now he is home to Michigan, probably only for a year because Johnny's better at this than we are. But it continues to elude Todd, but that doesn't mean it always will. Doesn't mean it always will.
And that was the one that basically came up with the wager just as a good, fun time to celebrate the summer of movies. And this was our first year back after 2020 got delayed. So it was very fun. And actually, our guest, who has been on the show before, is part of the Secret Friends Unite Work with Code 47. That is Mr. Richard Davenport. Rich, we invited you to be part of the movie wager. I don't believe you won, did you?
I thought I did.
Did you win?
He won in his division because
the division.
Well, we did. We had
the Commonwealth division. Yes.
Well, no, we had the A tier, which was us three, you, me, and Johnny, and then it was us three. It was then Mark, and it was Mark and Rich. So it was the wider grouping, as I recall.
I could not remember who won. Sorry, Rich. I besmirched. Okay. I besmirched your wonderful no prize.
It was my rookie season victory, and now I'm going to go into the sophomore slump. So it'll be okay.
We'll see what happens in 2022. We'll have a real movie season. But anyway, that is clearly not the focus of what we're talking about. But Rich, since I've got you on the line, I think it would be a magnificent opportunity for you to talk about our cover of the week. So why don't you go ahead and do that?
You guys let me pick the cover of the week. I thought that was fantastic.
Well, actually, you were kind of insistent, but
I said you did. No, come on,
you did.
Insistent. Come on.
You did.
345 only comes around once every 345.
I always think of this as the cover. Like 345 always sticks out in my head because of this issue. So when you guys said 345, I immediately thought of this issue. It's the cover. It's issue 345 of Incredible Hulk. The first series, second series, I guess, the one that Tales to Astonish morphed into.
Right.
And it has a gigantic gray Hulk smashing through his own title, which I always find fun I always find it fun when the characters smash their own title.
Yes,
happens
indeed.
on a lot of different stuff. This is a double-sized issue, like special anniversary issue 345.
Of course.
Right. This is the issue in which the Hulk dies. Or so everybody thinks. He doesn't actually die.
What? Hulk died? Right. Nobody told me. Who's been playing Hulk?
Is this the one where they split?
No, that was way earlier. That was before Peter David.
And he was still green. He was still green back then.
Correct. That was the tail run. That was right before Peter David came on. I think it was Len Wein. Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
Al Milgrom.
Al Milgrom.
Al Milgrom, Todd, your favorite. I remember that because I sampled a few of those recently because it was one of those everybody got together to take the Hulk down. The West Coast Avengers showed up.
Yeah.
Spider-Man was there in his black costume, which is always a draw to me because that's my favorite Spider-Man. So I remember, but I never really dug into this. But with Marvel Unlimited, which I'll talk about a little bit in the geekies that I'm kind of getting a little bit more use out of Marvel Unlimited these days. Yeah. Maybe I'll take a peek. That's cool. So this was from summer of '88. We talked about, right?
Summer of '88. This was my introduction to Peter David.
Right, the
man right here,
the man of the Star Trek: The New Frontier, which Rich and I have recorded about, and we both love very much.
Absolutely, the man, the myth, the legend. I read a ton of stuff by him. I got a chance to meet him. Todd, probably the same con that you interviewed him at.
Was it GalaxyCon, Rich?
I think it was.
There's been a couple of Twin City cons that have come through, and now we actually have a Twin Cities con, which actually was occurring this weekend.
Right. That's right. Yeah, I missed that one,
Me too.
but that's okay. It's pandemic, whatever.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this was my introduction to Peter David. This is when I got on board, and it's a great issue. It really is a lot of fun. But Todd, you pointed it out. 345, great issue to have a double size.
Blow it out.
Light it up. Do it.
Wait till 350. They got the Jeff Purves art when he's in Vegas, and this was the way that Hulk escapes to Vegas. They think he's dead, and he shows up in Vegas as an enforcer.
Such a weird run. Yeah, it was a great concept.
Yeah.
Very interesting take. And McFarlane, that was really his. I mean, he did some DC work before then. This was his Marvel debut. Then I believe he went over to ASM after this. So it was kind of like, it was a cool thing. Peter David just getting his start. All this cool stuff. And a very cool issue. And I did read some of those issues because I just wanted to see how Todd McFarlane's art changed. And I really like where you can see parts of brilliance with McFarlane's art in this. Sometimes though, it just looks like trash, but we get there.
It took us a while to get used to him, right? I mean, he was a big splash in the comic scene back in the 80s. And everybody was used to that John Byrne type, real static looking art. And then
you will not speak ill of John Byrne. It will not be done.
Well,
I'm not speaking ill of John Byrne.
And John Byrne actually did art and wrote Hulk before that. I mean, like 2 runs before then. And I loved his art on the
314 to 320.
I mean,
314 to 320, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not naive enough to say that John Byrne is the world's greatest artist or whatever, but I mean, he did several notable runs that the least of which was launching the Indiana Jones comic, which is a personal favorite of mine and one of the very first I ever read. So.
And don't forget X-Men.
Yeah, X-Men, man.
How could I?
He did X-Men. X-Men, yes,
X-Men and Next-Men.
That's right. Yes.
And what came before the X-Men? The Before Men, Side Men, Backdoor Men? I don't know.
Oh no, let's not go there, Charlie. We will take that as a note. Check out the comic if you're interested in seeing what it is. Very cool cover.
Definitely.
And you know what? Might be the best 345 ever.
It could be. But not to beleaguer the point. Moving right along. Let's hop in the Uber. Let's go down to the corner of Hollywood and Vine and get the latest dope, the poop, the news from our senior news correspondent. We'd like to call her Madam Webb with her rumors and news. Let's do it.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Oh my goodness. Look, we said it's Shocktober this week. Week 2. So Madam Webb, just remember that. A cheap costume for you. Do not put in your dentures. Choose to not remove your cold cream. And now you can be, I believe, the Wicker Woman, who we'll talk about in the Thunderdome. So there you go.
Is that like Dr. Quinn Wicker Woman? Did I just find a name for the episode? Oh, good work.
The Wicker Woman? Yeah, why not?
Wicker Woman?
Yes, so we kick off the news this week with a story that Charlie will probably not care about, but maybe he will.
That's okay.
Because
I'll listen.
Yes. So a show that I absolutely loved in college when Charlie was adoring Voyager. Well, it was
You're not going to find any support here ripping on Voyager. Rich is a fan.
Deep Space Nine and Voyager. I was loving Babylon 5. I would record it every day after school. It went from syndication to TNT owning the rights. And then they debuted with a miniseries called In the Beginning, which got me instantly hooked on the show. Loved it. It was a 5-season arc. J. Michael Straczynski basically started it from the beginning. He made a Bible. He said, this is my whole tale. And it was unique for its time because we did not get it. We did not get story arc telling like that in TV. So it was really a unique thing. And the fact that this was essentially a kind of an independent type show. It didn't have a studio backing it like Star Trek or anything like that. So kind of a unique entity, the fact that it actually got made. But over time, there have been significant rights problems with this show. To even get it put back on networks, like I think it's on HBO Max now. They did some touch-ups to it. Still looks really rough. And but apparently we're finding out now the rights have been cleared up and this show will be coming back as a what's the best word? Reboot, I guess is the way it would say, coming to the CW, which is very surprising. Ooh. Yeah, I know. Very crazy. And I even J. Michael Straczynski was putting this out there, and I even responded to his tweet. He actually responded back to me, which is surprising.
What?
On
Oh my
Twitter,
God.
yeah, interaction on Twitter. That's why you go there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay.
And I mentioned, because I'm like, the CW does not have high budgets. I even mentioned on like HBO Max, maybe even Paramount Plus, because the CW is split between Warner Brothers and CBS. It's a joint entity. So it could go either way, to be honest. I mean, if you want to play with it. But obviously TNT is owned by Warner Brothers, so I don't know exactly how those rights go. But regardless, I said, wouldn't they be better places because they would give it a higher budget? We've seen what Star Trek is doing now. We've seen with The Expanse, and we've also seen even like Battlestar Galactica. I'm like, you see what they did. The budget and how the show looked did not get in the way of people liking it. Those weren't they've done very well, and they weren't known to have the biggest budgets, but they looked great, and it didn't distract you from what you're seeing on the screen. So I got some pushback saying, hey, and that's what he said. Back in the day, we made it for $900,000 an episode. I'm like, things have changed. Well,
you can get away with that in the 90s, J. Michael.
Well, I mean,
come on.
TNG famously had a budget of $1 million an episode, and they did manage to pull it off. But I think that extra $100,000 was apparently that was a bridge too far for Babylon for your.
Well, and Babylon 5 came out post TNG.
Yes,
it was about the same time that DS9 came out. There's always hey, it's a star. It's basically a same kind of concept in a way.
It's a DS9 without the Star Trek, and I've heard the argument.
It's very similar, yeah. So, but it's beloved. I love it. I think it's one of the best written sci-fi shows. Not necessarily the best acted or directed. And they had some great writers. Neil Gaiman, some other writers that wrote great episodes. And Straczynski, I think he wrote like 80% of the episodes. So very unique. Star Trek doesn't have that. Star Trek has bring in writers, different things like that.
Well, that I wouldn't say that was explicitly true. Each of the later shows had writing staffs, but it wasn't really.
No. But you didn't have one individual like writer,
That's
the
true,
creator doing everything. So right,
you had like DS9 in its heyday had like 5 guys.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was guys, no women. So sign of the times. But yes.
Yeah, but like I mean, even TNG, they would bring in different people. To write episodes.
They had a spec script open door policy that they would actually like a guy who I'm friends with on Facebook and Twitter. Eric Stillwell wrote the famous episode Yesterday's Enterprise. Rich, you know the one I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was just from a slush pile. He's just a regular old guy who sent something in and it got made. Yeah. So it's weird.
So he's going to be completely involved in this as a creative entity. It's coming out. He's got a partnership with the CW to make this. I'm hoping it goes well, but it's a reboot. And he basically said, we can't just redo the same thing we once did. So I'm hoping it doesn't recreate the series and have all the same story beats. I hope it has the same feel, but does different things with it and delivers in a very similar fashion, but is surprising to us fans who love that show. Because I just don't want the same thing. And I'm not going to be the fan that say, well, they did it differently. I don't want to be that guy. I just want to be a guy that likes this type of storytelling. And I always love the fact that we can get another universe of of sci-fi that can really deliver, like The Expanse and different shows like that. So I'm excited for this. Now, considering this is going to be a modern show now without the crappy legacy, is it a scenario where you might both watch it?
Honestly, you saying that Straczynski wrote 80% of the original show makes me want to go watch the original show because I love Straczynski's writing. So
he did some great stuff on ASM, didn't he, Rich?
Yeah. Well, some great stuff on ASM.
Well, I mean,
he also did Brand New Day. So One More Day or whatever it was.
It was Brand New, Brand New Day. Yeah, it was. Yeah. I'm one of the few people you might ever meet that has read every issue of ASM, and a good 85% of it is completely absent from my memory because it's just not that memorable. But I have read them. I'm attempting to do the same with the Avengers, and it's not going so good. But yeah, no, I remember this. Straczynski covered. I think the 9/11 portion of Spider-Man, wrote a good story where Aunt May finally discovered his identity, and that led to the events of now I want to call it One Last Day, something like that. So anyway, he did some great stuff for ASM.
One More Day,
as opposed, in addition, obviously doing some stuff that wasn't so great. So, I mean, I will, I will kind of surrender myself to the will of the critics on this one. If there's a buzz after it comes out.
Charlie, you said I don't listen to critics.
The critics are my friends and associates. Oh, Todd, you don't want to play the gotcha game with me because I will string your ass up.
No, but you always tell me I don't pay attention to critics extra. So
yes,
when you tell me that, I'm like, okay, whatever. So
all the sideways shit that comes out of your mouth, you just better watch it.
My goodness, Charlie. But regardless, they do mention some things about what Babylon 5 did do for pioneering a TV series. First to use 5.1 audio. First to use widescreen for TV, and the first to use CGI as a TV series concept. I know it looks different now, but yeah, Star Trek to a large extent used real models to a large extent did some things like that. So different viewpoint on technology, which is pretty cool. Yeah, early CGI does not hold up, so that's a good and a bad thing. But
2 words for you before we move on: video toaster. I just remember from high school. Oh my God. So the next story, let me jump on into this one because I'm such a big fan. And I hope this tells us in somewhere where we might actually be seeing the next season of the show because I'm very excited. But we've talked about this. There's a spinoff for The Boys, which is over on Amazon. College spinoff is happening in, showrunner, creator Eric Kripke says it's kind of like Mork and Mindy and Baywatch Nights.
I'm sold.
Okay. You know what? Yeah, as Patton Oswald likes to say, "Stop drilling, you've hit oil." But yeah,
nanu, boys, nanu,
and
what did Mark do? What did he do?
It was this.
Wasn't it this?
Okay.
I don't even have the screen up.
Hands like this.
Oh yes. Yeah, okay, that could mean something else.
There's all kinds of different.
Let's not get X-rated with our hands, guys.
I'm just doing the Mork shake.
Gotcha. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, one can only really draw conclusions of what the hell that could possibly mean. It says here, kind of at the tail end of this article, Baywatch Nights spinoff, Baywatch Nights, which was spun off from Baywatch, had vampires, and it has an asterisk. And the asterisk
Nights had vampires.
The asterisk goes nowhere. There's no notation.
I could tell you, Baywatch Nights started off as this is what David Hasselhoff and the other lifeguards did when they had nothing else to do. They basically became like private investigators. When that premise didn't hit enough, they decided that they would also cross over with the supernatural. That's all I'm saying.
They wanted a Buffy show.
I was going to say, I quote Lunch Lady Doris from The Simpsons. I get 2 paychecks this way. That's why.
Like, what was that one show? Forever Night. That was that syndicated show with the cop who was a vampire. Bad stuff. But yeah, the Boys is getting a spinoff. We've got some casting now. Jazz Sinclair, Lizzie Broadway. Is that a real name? I guess it is. Shane, Paul McPhee, Amy Carrero, Raina Hardesty, and Maddie Phillips cast as college students. And I guess it's going to be like co-ed superhero hijinks. This should go well.
I hope it's Teenage Kicks. That's what I hope. Have you guys read the comic?
Oh no!
Well, that wasn't. They were introduced in the first trade, Rich.
Yeah. The first trade we read and we broke that down on the show
because it was out of order. Like what they were doing in the comic didn't always go in order of the show. It's kind of like things are there,
but the reverse is true. I mean,
right?
Absolutely, yeah.
No, I love that comic. I read every issue of it. Teenage Kicks, I don't think it was the first volume. I think it was like the second or third volume that they came in. But they are mentioned in the first volume for sure. Because
was that the group that they fought on like Huey got the powers and then killed one of them?
Yeah.
So we did meet them. Yeah, we did meet them.
So that wasn't them. Okay. So, but then they end up like surveilling them and all this other stuff. So I'm hoping that this, because they're gonna have a Hero-gasm episode in season 3. You know about Hero-gasm, right? Hero-gasm is another arc in the comic.
I'm not that far along.
To believe it.
I'm not that far along.
I
guarantee, 100% guarantee they will not be able to do on the show what they do.
That might be a good thing.
You know what? By the sounds of it, I don't know that I know that we go a little explicit on the show, but perhaps we should leave it be.
But Garth Ennis Unleashed. That's what it is. So
oh God, is he
just what he needed?
Oh God,
yeah, right. Just let him off the leash. But this article still doesn't mention when we're going to see The Boys season 3, because it was a fall show, because I know we watched season 2. We kind of picked it up midway last fall while also watching season 1, so kind of segued into it. So but the fall has arrived and there's nothing going on, so I'm kind of bummed out. Thanks,
Everything's
COVID.
delayed. But Rich, to your point, they said that season 3 will definitely incorporate that storyline. So
Nice.
I guess we just need to be prepared to be disgusted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of being disgusted, I'll take this second one and then I'll kick it back. Venom 2, which you guys have not seen, and so Todd and I had a little combo pre-roll, and I'm not going to talk very much about it because April and I did see it yesterday. But Rich, I know you're holding out, so I'm sure you'll hear spoilers along the way. Todd, I know you're seeing it this upcoming week, and we're going to discuss it on the show. Is that next weekend?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, I was not a fan, but regardless of the fact that I'm not a fan, I am not the movie making public. It looks like this is going to set not only a new pandemic record, but also a new month of October record, with an opening weekend pushing $100 million, $90.1 million, clearly domestic. People are hungry for it. I don't know. I mean, perhaps that's a bad spin on the fact that Venom and Carnage are obviously carnivorous because they bite a lot of faces and heads and different stuff in this film. I think people are just chomping at the bit, and that's kind of where this ended up. But I will simply wrap up to say that I'm not a fan. I know I mentioned that. But Todd, you had some rather Oscar-winning Shakespearean thoughts about this. So why don't you go ahead?
Well, it only matches the level of quality of the film. My thoughts on this film.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not see this yet, so I will see this. But I have heard essentially, if you didn't like the first film, there's nothing here for you. They don't change anything.
Correct.
They essentially doubled down. Although I heard some critics said they like this one better. So take it with you will. But I don't think if you didn't like the first one, I don't think there's anything there for you. I can't say Venom is a character that I love, but I will say that I think the character is in a much better place than it has been for a long time. And the character has taken a huge arc versus like the Maximum Carnage, the Lethal Protector era, where it was like, Venom just feels like very 90s now. Put some really raging death metal behind him, and he's all set.
Yeah, I read that Maximum Carnage arc 2 or 3 years ago, and I was like, well, they were just chewing this. If it can be done, chewing the scenery in a comic book, like chewing on the edge of the panel. I mean, just with the dialogue, it felt like it was George Lucas. I don't know. Maybe he snuck in there, did a little ghostwriting, but it was not.
Yeah.
It
was 90s
90s.
comics.
Yeah, it was very 90s.
This was very on par with what we all came to expect. Because it was Carnage plus Shriek, who was featured in the film. It was Doppelganger, who was a demonic Spider-Man with 6 arms and fangs and all this different stuff. And Rich is like, yeah, I was there.
Is Demo Goblin in there too?
The Demogoblin was simply Jason McIndale, who was actually the Jack-o'-lantern, but he got possessed by a demon. I think that was in Inferno, which, Rich, are you talking about Inferno later, or is that a different one?
I will talk about Inferno, yeah.
A different Inferno, maybe?
This is the new Inferno.
Yeah. Yes, a different Inferno. Yeah,
okay,
which I'm curious about too, so I'll pick your brain on that. But going back to where we came with, basically, I've always said, when I saw the first movie, I'm like, this feels like a B movie where everybody's in on it and they're just hamming it up, overacting, bad accents, just having a good time. These are good actors, and they've even added an Oscar-winning actor. Andy Serkis is directing this one. Yeah. And I just think this is not meant to be, no one's taking this seriously. They're not dumb. These actors know what they're doing. They've seen a bad script. They've seen bad directing. They've all things. I just think they're just having a good time, and I took it how Tom Hardy's treating it. The back and forth, the goofy dialogue between him and the symbiote, they're just hamming it up. This is like The Odd Couple. This is like all this crap that just, and it's not a good film. Nobody's going to say this is a good film, but I think it's entertaining to some people that maybe could care less about the character of Venom, which I would say is probably 90% of the population of moviegoers. So ultimately they're making this for other people than the fan base, which seems to be a disconnect from when you get with like modern superhero films. They try to connect with the fan base and capture the heart of it. So yeah, this is Peter Parker's not involved. Totally get it. it's just not there. But this was made at a different time before there was a really established relationship with Disney. So it is what it is. We did get Venom already, though, with Topher Grace. So
Right,
I don't.
which yeah, Rich and I are both kind of shaking our heads, but Rich, I think, and you and I've talked about this offline, that they actually nailed the origin beats in that film, despite that film, I think I've seen it twice, which is rare for me for this kind of stuff, because I like to watch and get nuances. Rich and I are this have some similarities in that way, but this film, I think I watched it, I think I pity purchased it, and I think it sat in my digital vault for like 8 years, and then I finally jump back on to watching it again, and I'm like, it'll be another 8 to 12 years before I have to watch. Then I turned into Todd. I'm like, well, I'm not watching this again for 20 years.
Which one are you talking about?
Spider-Man 3.
Oh boy, I saw that in theaters, and my God.
I did too.
Yeah, ditto.
Look,
Yeah,
you said that you felt like they hit the right beats with the origin, but to me it didn't quite fit. Now my thought here was, why not take Spider-Man to space? Why not have him somehow? Because if you're going to make Venom comes from the Beyonder planet. He's
correct.
He is the costume that is created for Spider-Man when his costume gets all beat up in Secret Wars. Yep. And you don't have to do all that. You don't have to have Secret Wars, but Spider-Man's been to space in the Avengers movies, right?
Right.
Delay Venom for a couple of years and then have him bring it back, right? No Way Home, or not No Way Home, but is it No Way Home, the new one?
No,
it
was
coming out, right? The new one that's coming out is called No Way Home, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
You could have him go to space in that too, because he's already done it. It's established that he can do it. Have him go into space. He ends up with a new suit, and then you can do your Venom stuff from there. Then it makes sense. Why would he shoot webs? Why does Venom shoot webs in Venom?
Right. Well, or Spider-Man having from Ben on Titan, Thanos' home planet, in Infinity War, then having been gone from 5 years, then he comes back. Let's say it came back in his friggin' backpack or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something. Anything. My God.
I'm guessing. I think, like I said, Rich, I think this was all planned well before there was any agreement with Disney and Spider-Man, and we knew how tense that thing was and all the weird agreements. So I think this was something that Sony was just developing because they had no clue, and we know how much of a mess after Amazing Spider-Man 2 was. Kind of like not a lot of love, and they're like, well, we got to do something with this license, and maybe they thought, well, maybe we can't even make Spider-Man good, so let's pawn it off and do with these other characters. So yeah, I totally get it. It's just a weird mix, and I don't know what. And Charlie, you'd mentioned there's some things in like the teasers the stingers and things like that.
I mentioned nothing.
Well, I bet you said there seems like people have talked about this could mean, so there's something more there, which I'll be able to speak to once I see the movie, but it's going to be a tough one because I don't even know if, quite honestly, Disney wants Venom in its movies. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a tough one, right? It's like, does Disney want Punisher? I don't know.
I think they might.
It's a mystery for the ages. There's no
doubt
about it.
Of course, we're getting a Hit Monkey cartoon that eventually still went forward. So who knows? Disney might like everything as long as it makes money.
Daniel Way wrote the original Hit Monkey comic, if I'm not mistaken, and he's the guy that made Deadpool. So if you like Deadpool, you're gonna love Hit Monkey.
Yeah, more to come, folks. So check it out. I hope we get a MODOK season 2 because I love that show.
Yes. Yeah,
that would be delightful. All right, moving on. Who wants to tackle this chestnut right here?
Well, Rich, I imagine you don't want the resident Star Wars fan to answer that question, so you should take it.
Oh, sure, I can do it. So basically, they're underway with production of Mandalorian season 3, but they actually just gave us a date for Book of Boba Fett. It's December 29th. And poster too. Or was it one poster or two posters?
I saw one, but I don't know. Yeah.
So, is he sitting somewhere?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's sitting. He's sitting.
Action sitting.
Boba Fett does a lot of sitting. He's not gonna lie to you.
I mean, he sat in the pit of the Sarlacc for a long time.
Oh, ouch! That hurts.
Till they decided he needed to be used again. I guess. I hope that this is going to really redeem Boba Fett in my eyes, because everybody talks about what a badass Boba Fett is, but he never did a damn thing in the movies. at all.
Right,
He did nothing.
yeah.
He stood there. He glowered. He hung out with the
Well,
the
and
dancers at Jabba's thing.
I mean,
that was
maybe he glowered, but you didn't see behind the helmet. He nodded.
true.
He nodded in that movie.
He nodded. He could have the biggest, dumbest smile on his face. He could have been nodding like
he could have been having a stroke under
Jack
that helmet. He
Nicholson.
could have been
Yeah,
like,
right.
oh,
Could have been
he could have
anything.
been. Could have
I
been a
tell
whole
ya,
scenario.
You know what? A good suit makes anybody look cool.
That's true. That's true.
Right, exactly correct.
Now, this article also does say that they talk about the Last of Us series that's coming to HBO that Pedro Pascal is playing
Ooh.
Joel in. Holy
Nice.
crap! I'm so excited about. You've played that, right, Todd? You've played.
I've played both, and I hope it's good.
Me too.
That's all I will say.
Want this to be good. I want this to be good. But anyway, that's basically it about the Mandalorian and Boba Fett in his book.
So,
his book of, and I will, if I can stick a caveat in here, there's also wrap production on Obi-Wan and Cassian Andor, the later of which being Todd's most anticipated series. I know.
yes, a story about a guy who we know his end, and of course, everybody that we meet through this series will eventually pop up and meet other people. That's the intent.
Did you not like the prequel movies either because you knew how Darth Vader died?
Oh, he got you,
Rich.
I'm not gotchaing anybody. I'm curious.
I thought the prequels had a cool look and aesthetic.
Yeah,
I liked some of the music. They had much better Jedi fights, lightsaber fights.
Yeah,
I thought
definitely.
Some of the worst dialogue ever, some of the worst direction ever, and the plot ultimately was boring and bland for the majority of it, and I didn't buy Anakin, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's where I struggled with the prequels. It was like, hey, we want to tell you everything about something. It's kind of like Wolverine. I don't need to know more about Wolverine's past because it ultimately isn't representative of the person he is now. It's his journey to get there. But I liked Wolverine with the cool hat with the stogie versus calling him James, you are a young Canadian lad. Like, hey, you don't need that. It's like, and Darth Vader, I didn't know to know he had a love story and it went horribly wrong and he was basically misled. It didn't make me think that the character was that much better. It made me actually feel more diminished about the character, especially as we saw him on screen and what he kind of did, which was just point and maybe swing a couple lightsabers.
Yeah. Well, and the ultimate redemption of Darth Vader, obviously, being those last 3 minutes at the end of Rogue One, where he's just wrecking shop. You could have left out all the prequels and just showed us that and maintained our love of the character instead of thinking of him as a whiny teen, and before that he was a whiny tween, and I just.
I don't want to. I know there's Star Wars fans that love everything about it, and I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I just think with this, my question was in regards to this. Is having a Boba Fett show and then a Mandalorian show potentially right after, is that too much of the same thing?
We will find out when we get there. I don't know. The shows tonally may be completely different. You have no.
That's true.
There's really no barometer to really know what Book of Boba Fett is going to do. So you can't really say like, it's going to be a carbon copy and yada yada yada. You can only see what happens when you get there.
I mean, Mandalorian's more of a lone wolf and cub type of an adaptation, and I don't see Book of Boba Fett turning into that,
right? Because he's running a criminal enterprise, and he has,
but just same era though, same like kind of time frame, because we haven't had a lot of that where it's repeated time frame. It's typically been years before, years after. They haven't followed in sequence. If this is going to be Boba's Fett's past, it's still going to be in that post Jedi era, I assume.
Right.
I mean,
it seems like it.
I mean, potentially, but Star Trek shows ran concurrently, and they managed to, with varying degrees of success, still maintain good storytelling. And again, when I look at Star Trek and I look at Star Wars, if I look at Star Trek, you see the map behind me. It's this galaxy, but it's like this little piece right here. When you look at Star Wars, it's a galaxy, but it's everything. So there's and they describe, Star Wars as being tens of thousands of star systems and blah, 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 and this rich tapestry, this and that. So you're right. It stands to reason that they could really break out and do something really very uniquely different and go to different corners. And I have this wild theory that when I told this to Mark over on Holocron, he was like, I've never seen that show. I kind of feel like if you look at the Star Wars galaxy, there's maybe just a potential that one tiny little piece of it is where Battlestar Galactica took place. That's all I'm saying. Because why not?
Sure.
Why not?
Because they're not bound by the same company.
But they are connected by the Tommy Westphal stuff, guys. Don't forget.
Yes,
will.
true.
I will quote both Mark and Rich, who have said it differently. Headcanon, my friend. Head.
So I will ask both of you, what's the most exciting thing that you're looking forward in Star Wars with everything it's announced?
Being at someone, as you can see from my accoutrement, I love the X-Wing era. I'm looking forward to that Squadrons film down the road by Patty Jenkins. That's the one for me.
That's funny. That's exactly what I'm looking forward to.
Woo, cool.
Squadron. Yeah, I want to see what she does with that because she's a good director, and I'd love to see what she comes up with.
Absolutely. So yeah, and that is the next. That is the only film that is on the
correct,
slate.
and we don't even have a date, right? Is it 2024?
2024 or 25. Yeah. So we have a year. That's something.
It's a long gap. Oh well. I am most looking forward to the Acolyte because it's an era, and just like Squadrons, it's an era that we have just not seen before. So very excited about that.
Agreed. All right, moving on. I'm even afraid to touch this one. So Todd, I think it's your turn.
Yes.
To attack this one with the dispassion of a non-fervent Star Trek fan, which would not be Rich and myself.
Oh man, I tell you, man, the Shat. He was all over things TV. I mean, we had T.J. Hooker. Then what was it? Rescue 911. Then he's like, "What else can I do?" He's like, "I'm going to create my own sci-fi universe because I am William Shatner. So I'm going to make Tekwar, guys." Which I think started off as a book series. Was it a book series first, then became comics, then actually became a TV series,
and actually found its way into the Simpsons parlance that they were talking to. It was the Board of Education. It was Principal Skinner. Somebody's questioning me, and he said, "The children haven't even gotten to the Tekwar books."
So Tekwar apparently it essentially takes place in 2043, which is more than 50 years in the future when Putnam began publishing the novels. The story follows former Los Angeles police detective Jake Cardigan.
Ooh, he's got a great sweater. But who needs a sweater? Who needs a sweater in Los Angeles? Is it cold?
Yes,
he doesn't have a sweater. He's very, very hirsute, and so when he doesn't have his shirt on, he looks like he's wearing a sweater. That's why he's called.
He is the Bare Naked Lady song, the hair shirt.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. So he was framed for selling an illegal biodigital microchip that works like a mind-altering drug. The chip is especially dangerous as it could become a virus that would spread and destroy society. The pitch of the new Tekwar series is that it's a mixed reality series. That means that while the creators aim for it to be enjoyable on its own, viewers can participate in the show using mobile device apps to further immerse themselves in the universe and story. And this never works.
Oh my.
Oh, bound for disaster. Maybe if Shatner doesn't die before this come on, he will cameo. Yeah, I mean, he's like Elton John. He will find a way into anything, no matter how old he is, just to stay in the zeitgeist, and make money. I mean, seriously,
don't besmirch Elton John, man.
I adore Elton John. I've been an Elton John fan for 30 years, but here's a guy who is, was on the Grammys with, Eminem, who was notoriously homophobic in the early 2000s. I mean, he's looking to be out there and to make money. So,
he just did a commercial with Lil Nas X for Uber Eats,
right?
Give him credit for making money.
I do.
Not William Shatner,
but Elton John.
Elton John. Yes. So there you go. And by the way, he just actually is releasing a new album, and he is doing a duet with Stevie Wonder. Very crazy.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to have to get that shit on my Amazon Prime, so keep talking.
Yes.
I got to look it up.
There you go. Well, that is it for the news this week. So if you're looking forward to Tekwar, more is coming because you've been waiting a long time. You know what? While we're waiting...
No one has been looking forward to it.
While we're waiting, we might as well have a drink at our favorite geek establishment, and that's the Geek Easy.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover band's playing, our drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on, like Donkey Kong. We start off with our esteemed Richard. Rich, you got a couple things to talk about. One I'm very interested in. Well, I'm interested in both, but the one I'm curious about goes back to my X-Men past.
Right on. Well, we'll start with that one then. The first thing is Inferno, that Jonathan Hickman's exit from the Marvel or the X-Men universe, I think. He is doing a 4-issue miniseries called Inferno. It's not the old Inferno with Sim, and
Madeline
Nasir
Pryor,
and
right?
Madeline Pryor,
The demon, yeah.
Ooh,
You're not
yeah.
not even giving me a love for my fucking Disco Inferno over here.
Thank you, Charlie.
Burn, baby, burn. Okay,
Good
I'll
work,
stop.
man. Good work.
Thank you. I appreciate
But
it.
Charlie got to the Geek Easy before we apparently.
Yeah, Charlie's been pre-gaming. But Inferno, this Inferno it just started this past week, and it is basically all the well-laid plans of Krakoa starting to unravel with the
Ooh.
arrival of a certain former member of the Brotherhood, and the arrival of a certain character that started off the whole thing, the whole Jonathan Hickman thing. I don't want to give too much away because it just came out. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so I saw Rich. I will tell you, I read Powers of X.
Yeah.
Was it Powers of X?
House of X and Powers of 10.
Correct. I read those, and Charlie and actually were at C2E2 when they announced Hickman was taking this over. They announced, I'm like, this looks really cool, very different. Those miniseries essentially kicked off the new status quo for the X-Men with Krakoa, basically being able to resurrect mutants, basically then using the parts of Krakoa that essentially were miracle drugs that they could sell off to eventually make themselves a self-sufficient nation.
Right.
Which is kind of the premise, and then they could create doorways to go different places, and eventually, essentially creating what mutants have always wanted, especially Magneto, a place where mutants could be safe, kind of like Asteroid M?
Asteroid
the
M
one
was
place.
the thing. Now you've got Araco, the planet. They terraformed Mars. At one point. Yeah,
it's crazy.
They used the Krakoan stuff to terraform Mars, along with powers of certain X-Men, Omega Men.
Yeah, I mean,
mutants.
Oh yeah, okay.
I mean, Hickman is known for doing just really long. He has a plan.
Yep,
it's coming to fruition. He did that with the Fantastic Four. He's done that with some other books. So I've heard a little bit about Inferno. Apparently, has to do with, and I will spoil this because I heard this rumor about Mystique trying to bring back Destiny. Right?
Yes.
Is that the premise?
That is the mutant that arrives. Yeah, Destiny.
Okay.
Now she was excluded from the resurrection protocols because of her ability to see the future. Because we remember in the Powers of X Powers of 10 House of X miniseries, Moira McTaggart was revealed to be a mutant. Right.
Correct.
One of my issues with it was that if she had been a mutant all this time, how was she not discovered by Charles Xavier? Well, that's kind of explained.
Okay.
In this. She's part of her ability is to hide from other mutants.
Sure.
But she lives multiple lives.
Yes.
And if Destiny gets a hold of that information, or if Destiny is able to see what's going on, she'll know what their plan is eventually. Now, the resurrection protocols are not known to the outside world. Nobody knows that the X-Men can resurrect. Nobody knows that the X-Men can come back. And those secrets are starting to come out. Destiny is back. That's one of the things that they even say, this is one of those things that we need to be worried about. They try to get Mystique off the Quiet Council because they're worried about what her plan is, and it's all starting to come crumbling down, which I think is fantastic because that's Hickman's deal. There's going to be a very big denouement to this, and I can't wait. The first issue was fantastic.
Very cool, and with Marvel Unlimited, they were now only 3 months behind.
Yeah,
I did want to read the Mutant Gala, the Hellfire Gala, which was very fun. There was a murder at the gala, so I need to read those books. So someone who's lapsed. I kind of have read a couple of the series since Powers. So where should I get back in at?
I would say start from the Hellfire Gala, because at that point you don't have a whole lot left to go before you start getting to Inferno, or at least the build up to Inferno. There's also the trial of Magneto that's going on right now. Leah Williams, and I forget the artist, but Leah Williams is the writer of X Factor. He is accused of murdering the Scarlet Witch.
Ooh,
yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Who is
I always
not related to him at this point, so I don't
yeah,
know.
exactly. Yeah, I always struggle with the X-Men because there's always so many books that it's just
Yeah.
like I don't know which ones are good, and so yeah, I'll start there and I'll work my way back if I'm interested in something else. But I like to just kind of like jump in like the old days when all of us were going to the spinner rack and saying that looks cool, pick it up, and it's like I don't know what happened 300 issues before, but I'm just jumping in. So
ironically, that was my first exposure to the X-Men was in the Inferno series, that double-sized issue of X-Men 242 or 243, I think it was, with Madeline Pryor on the cover holding up the baby, and yeah,
so cool.
Nathan Christopher Charles Summers, who would become Cable. So
very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. So are we going down the line, or do you want me to do both of mine?
Go right ahead.
Okay. So the other one is it's spooky month, right? It's October, man.
Shocktober is here.
That's right. This is my wheelhouse, and every year, except for last year because of the pandemic, my wife and I go to a little ditty in Orlando at Universal Studios called Halloween Horror Nights. This year is the 30th anniversary, and they're doing it big time.
Wow, nice.
So I will be traveling to Florida's newest theme park, COVID Land, to
Covania.
Yeah, to go to the Halloween Horror Nights thing, and I'm excited about this, but I'm also a little nervous because of COVID. I will be wearing a mask. I'll be doing all the things that we're supposed to do, socially distancing as much as I can, and of course we'll take tests when we get back. But HHN is fantastic. They have basically themed horror houses, about 10 each year. They used to be 8, but now they're up to 10, and then scare zones throughout the theme park that you walk through. And then they have themed foods, and they have rides that are open, but then they also have a couple shows. We're going to kind of pick and choose what we're going to do because, we don't want to get stuck into a giant, stadium full of, potential, COVID. Well, let's call them plague rats. So, but we are going. So we're going to go, and this is the first time in 2 years. So we're very excited. So that's the other thing I'm geeking out about is that.
Very cool. I hope you share a lot of pictures, Rich. I really want to see what the park looks like and all that kind of stuff. It's very cool.
I'll take some pictures. I'll make some videos or whatever. I'll share them out. Absolutely.
Nice. Good deal. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Oxycontin, it's you.
Oh my goodness. So I am fresh off the first episode of the Squid Game.
And the famous Todd watches one episode. All right.
No. I'm not that guy anymore, Charlie. I haven't been that guy in a long time. I continue to watch them. My pacing is just slower than most, but I do continue to watch, unless it's like just not for me. Squid Game is all the rage on Netflix. Apparently, it's going to be their number one show, passing Bridgerton, which I didn't watch, but has the sexy man times.
We watched the first episode of that, and it's that's more April Speed than mine.
That the classic Charlie watches the first episode?
That's right. He's
that
back.
That would be well, you know what? But I had a co-conspirator in the wife, so there we go. Accessory after the fact.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this is their original show. I'm not sure if they actually made this or they just imported it. It's a Korean show. It is dubbed. If you don't want to read subtitles and listen to the original language, the dub is a little goofy, but that's okay. I just kind of seeing what they do on screen and just taking it from there. So it's got a little bit of, but it's like if you watch anime or other things like that, that the dialogue, the culture and everything like that, the localization doesn't always work very well. But this one, it's just the concept. The concept of Squid Game is about this lovable loser, divorced dad living at home with his mom, essentially cannot make any money. He owes a lot of money to the mob because he's got a bad gambling habit. His daughter is basically going to move with her father-in-law and stepdad and the mother to the U.S. So the dad's like, his mom's getting mad. It's like, you got to get your daughter. You got to make something of yourself. But his gambling habit just gets in the way. And he just can't do anything right. And then he meets this one guy in a subway, and they're talking and they bet. And the guy basically says, well, you don't have any money, but every time I win, I get to hit you. So so this guy is such a loser. He's like, okay, I'll do anything for money. He eventually, it's like him. I mean, he's just getting the crap beat out of him, having, he's just so frustrating. He finally wins and he feels like a winner. He gets money. He gets a card from the gentleman, says, "Come see me if you're interested in doing more bets." So yeah, and then it just kind of goes on there, and basically he finally calls the guy and says, "Okay, I really want to make some money." That's where this thing gets weird. So I don't want to give too much away, but essentially he wakes up along with 456 other people wearing tracksuits, and these people in masks basically said, "You're going to be able to play a game, actually 6 games, and if you win, you'll be rewarded." And people are, "Well, you've captured us. How will I know if you actually want to pay us?" "Well, we paid you when we did the bet to find you. We do this." And then people start getting mad, and they actually show like why all these people are here and what they've got on the line. And this is essentially, if they can make it through 6 games, they will essentially become financially solvent, which is a big part of this. So the first episode is about 1 game, and it is a simple game, but the stakes are very, very high, is all I will say. A lot of people are not aware what the stakes truly are, even though they signed a contract. All of the people that are capturing them are wearing masks, so their identities are held. And you see this essentially, this one game master wearing this really dark black mask. Looks very cool. And he's just watching this from afar. It's intriguing. I'm like, I don't know what the end game is, but it is violent, the first episode. But not like over the top violent. It just, I would say it's interesting, and I'm curious where the premise goes. It's 9 episodes long, but the episodes are not an hour long, which is longer than I expected. So if you're interested in something unique, and it's all the buzz right now, I check it out. I think it's just it's curious what the next games will be, where this goes. Kind of feels like a Hunger Games if you want to take that, or Battle Royale if you're into anime and manga.
Oh yeah, right on.
It's very buzzy. Again, my my friend Miranda's 14-year-old daughter spoiled this for me on TikTok because I was there the other day, and she's like, "You seen Squid Game? No. Are you gonna watch Squid Game? Probably not. Well, here's how it ends." And there's a TikTok of it, and I'm like, "Oh, that's delightful."
Another reason to hate TikTok.
TikTok is not the answer. But yeah, you're right. It's incredibly buzzy. They were talking about it on I think on Suggestible, which is one of the Weekly Planet podcasts that I follow really closely. So it sounds crazy, but yeah, very violent and very visceral.
Yeah.
So it sounds interesting. I can't lie to you. So there's a certain amount of intrigue.
Yeah. I'm definitely into this.
Check it out, Rich. I mean, it's definitely a show that I think you might like. Charlie, I know you're not big into like subtitles and stuff. It does have a different feel to it. But but if you're curious,
I literally watch every show with subtitles except for the news, so you would be incorrect.
Okay, well, I mean, there you go. Then check it out. Just like the news.
I'm sorry. I love it when Todd comes out on the show and makes an assumption about something I would like, and then I can just poke a hole in it. It's fun.
Well, watch it and let me know.
Right. Well, you watch it and let me know because you've watched 1 episode.
Rich, I don't know what to do. Oh, well, let's move on. Let's move on. My assumption is unproved because Charlie won't prove it one way or the other. He'll just, what is it? What do they do when they go to Congress and they don't vote? President?
It's a filibuster. Filibuster.
Yeah.
It's a filibuster.
I abstain from this. So watch it. It's really interesting. Check it out. I'll be curious to see where it goes. Hopefully it does pay off. Then What If? What If is episode 7. We're getting 8 is the finale.
Yes, correct.
We've solved it, Charlie. There's 8 episodes. Every episode he's like, how many are there? We don't know.
Do we finally take that down? Do I have to Google it again? Okay, if you say so, it's your deal.
Well, next week's the finale apparently, and this was episode 7, so 8 is where we end. So this is essentially, I feel like it's finally bringing together the whole series. We were given a preview of what this episode would be out last week, which is interesting. Which is essentially, what if Vision had become Ultron, and then taken all of the Infinity Gems and decided to be curious and have his wrath happen. So
brutal. Rich, you've seen it too. Have you watched it?
No, I've watched the first 2 episodes. I think I watched up to the
Okay, I won't spoil anything.
Okay,
that's okay. I'm not worried about spoilers. I'm a little disappointed that they're bringing it all together. I thought,
yeah.
What If comic isn't like a bring it all?
No,
together
yeah, because you're right, and in 50 years of doing What If, they've never brought anything together. So I agree with you. But obviously it's based around the MCU as opposed to traditional continuity. So in some ways that might lend itself a little bit more to the connection. But anyway,
people
Todd,
expect, I think.
it is what people expect. You're correct.
Yeah, I think this is take the premise of this is almost like an Elseworlds tale versus What If in a way. I feel it's more like that than anything else. But still interesting. Really, a lot of interesting battles. Really cool. They did some really interesting things. I'll just say one little spoiler, Rich. So there's a battle where reality is changing with every punch. So it's almost like the world changes every punch. I'm like, that is a cool dynamic, and I didn't expect that. And I think that's what a cool part of what this animation style does and what they can do with animation, because the budget is unlimited to do one thing or the other. Basically, I can either make a guy sitting on a park bench, or I can make an alien planet. It's the same amount of money to do so, which I love.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. So I, like I said, I am curious to see what they do next. We've got some alliances forming, and we'll see where this goes. And apparently we're getting a season 2. So I don't know if it will be like season 2 carries on, or it'll be like, nope, it's going to be a new fresh start and we'll play it again.
We're still What If in our way through it. So I very fired up for the conclusion, which we'll see next week. And Todd will be able to talk about next week, in addition to talk about Venom. Yay!
Charlie, I think we're going to get, though, I think this is, and Rich, this might be a spoiler because I'm just coming up with this. I think we're going to find out, like, Howard the Duck is key to all this. He's going to be the key.
I mean, hasn't it always been the way? Without a doubt.
He makes a second appearance, is all I'm saying. So he's in this one quite a bit.
Once you go duck, you never have bad luck. I don't know.
Exactly. You don't run out of luck.
You don't run out of luck. All right, I'm taking the reins. And Rich, I'm going to lean on you just a little bit about this one, because you saw this as one. The Many Saints of Newark. Now, April and I have been watching The Sopranos for the first time. Mm-hmm. Sopranos aired between 1999 and 2007 on HBO. Very revered. Certainly, I'd heard bits and pieces about it over the years, but I had no frame of reference to really understand what the show is about beyond the basic premise that, hey, it's a mob family and, in modern day New Jersey, yada, 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 the trials and tribulations, etc. So hopped into this movie, been seeing the trailers for months. You're seeing a portrayal of a young Tony Soprano, who is the main character in the show. Interestingly enough, played by his son, and James Gandolfini, the actor, passed away in 2013. So this is quite a fitting homage for him to play the same character. When we get to the movie, I'm like, we were going to go see it in the theater, and plans change, and it's on HBO Max, which means, just about anybody can watch it, because just about everybody has HBO Max, it seems, or access to it. So we're sitting down and we're watching this maybe Friday night. April's working late, but we're both on the couch. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to see young Tony Soprano and see how he comes to be and what's his motivation. And the story was absolutely 75% not about that. It was about a previously unrevealed character who was the deceased father of one of the characters in the show. Well, unfortunately, because I haven't finished the show, it was revealed to me that the son character was murdered by Tony.
Spoilers.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, what the fuck? Oh, okay. Well, you know what? No deaths in The Sopranos are surprising. It's like Big Pussy. You knew he was going to get killed.
We're spoiling the hell out of Sopranos.
Do I have to like bleep that?
I don't think so, because maybe he was just a pussycat. That's his
proper name.
Yeah, that's his name, but it's not what you think. Apparently, it's something else. So.
Exactly. So I mean, characters got killed left and right in the show, so it was very commonplace. But I was just watching this with a thought of, well, why doesn't this feel anything like the trailer did, which I felt like a coming of age story of the Tony Soprano character in the mid to late 1970s. Instead, it started in the 60s, segued into the 70s, because it was started in 67 and then it jumped forward to 73, 75, whatever, is where Tony was a teenager. And, you saw younger versions of Syl and Paulie Walnuts and Carmela and other characters in the show. Massive letdown. And again, much like with Venom, I was sleeping at one point because I was so bored.
Wow.
Charlie, are you a narcoleptic?
I did.
You sleep a lot of things.
I was not engaged. And then, Rich, I know I don't want to I don't want to kind of poop all over the fact that your episode of View from the Couch comes out long before this episode drops, but you also had a chance to dissect this with our contributor Aaron. What's your take?
I'm actually going to reserve my take for people that might want to listen to that.
Oh,
It comes out tomorrow. It actually comes out tomorrow.
right, but this episode does not come
Comes
out
out Friday.
Friday.
It comes out Friday. Okay.
Yeah. Go
Okay.
nuts. Go
All right,
nuts.
so I liked it.
Okay.
I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. I felt like it was more of an episode than a movie. And
just like Star Trek, the
Right.
TNG movies always felt like a long episode.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. It felt like a long episode. And you said that Dickie Moltisanti was not previously revealed. And actually, he is. We know who he is. We know of his fate. We know something of him because we know he is.
You're right. No,
he's Tony's favorite uncle.
Right.
Mentioned with great reverence.
We do, and I know
Yeah.
that his death, the TV trays, that was mentioned
Right.
in an episode in season 3, which we saw
Yep.
not far before. But
Yeah.
you're right. I was more teed up for the coming of age story of Tony Soprano, but perhaps that was too pedestrian.
Yeah, that was a takeaway for me as well. That it was pitched as Tony's story, and it was not Tony's story. This is Dickie Moltisanti's story, and that's fine. But don't pitch it the one way,
Yeah, maybe that's what really rubbed me the wrong way. But Rich, being that I very much respect your opinion about films, you're the guy, so maybe this deserves another peek. I don't know.
Well,
So-
I mean, it's sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just have not seen The Sopranos. So, Rich, from your perspective, this is a prequel to the series. Is it a scenario where you really should watch the series and be familiar with it before you see this?
Yes, because they're going to have characters that you won't know who they are unless you have seen the series.
Sure.
And the other things that you'll miss out, like Olivia's performance. God, what's her name? The lady from the Conjuring movies.
Oh, Verna Farmiga. Yeah.
Verna Farmiga, yeah. She plays Tony's mother as a younger woman. And she, we say this in our show too, but she very much studied that person's portrayal and her facial expressions, her movements, her looks, all very much like the elder version of that character. And I'll say this, Michael Gandolfini is a fantastic actor. What he did with as little screen time as he had, he looks just like James Gandolfini. There's a moment in, I'm going to say the third act of the film, when he is talking on the phone. He's trying to get his uncle Dickie to get him beer for this party, right? And one of his friends makes a snide comment, and he side-eyes him. Yeah, and you see James Gandolfini in it. You see every look that he's ever given, like somebody that's pissed him off.
What did you just say to me?
Right, that's exactly. Yeah, exactly. And in that moment, you see, I want to say present day, but future Tony Soprano. Right. And it's amazing. I mean, really good stuff. Really good stuff.
So they didn't pull a Sofia Coppola.
No.
Godfather 3. You're horrible.
No. So anyway, everybody, if you've not followed Rich's feed over on, on the couch, please go for it. Rich does great work. Both Todd and I have been on the show several times. We love the interaction because Rich usually does the show with his wife Jen. She's on hiatus right now. But yeah, we love doing it. And Rich is a great film aficionado. So tune in.
Yeah, you both are actually coming up in a couple of weeks. Charlie, you're next week, and Todd, you're the week after that.
I cannot wait. Yes.
Yeah, love working with Rich. All right, and then real quick, because we're running a little short on time, I have finally dipped back into, and again, I'll collaborate with Rich on this because he reads as well. Amazing Spider-Man. I let my subscription lapse a while back when I realized I wasn't reading them. So I went ahead and got caught up with the last probably 5 or 6 issues. I was telling Rich I jumped into I got out of the tablet saga, and I got into the Chameleon Conspiracy, which brought back the character of Teresa Parker, who was Peter Parker's long lost sister. She was a child that Richard and Mary Parker had before Peter was born and before they died. And then talking about the Finisher, who's a character who I wasn't that familiar with. And boy, isn't that a dirty name. And I don't really want to get too deep into that. But Rich, you said to me initially this arc was kind of boring. I can't necessarily disagree. I thought the tablet thing was kind of a snoozer, even though it did bring the arc with the Boomerang character to kind of fruition and kind of ended that.
But that's going to come around, though. That Boomerang thing's going to come around by the end.
No.
Look at you,
Rich.
Richard, come on now. But anyway, what I did
I wasn't going to do that. Come on.
What I did like, and I think the most recent issue I finished was probably 65, because again, I'm following it through Marvel Unlimited. It does give me pause to kind of jump back in and potentially resubscribe, though. I feel like if I did that, I'd regret it because I wouldn't read them and it'd be a waste of money. But no, issue 65 gave us back it was like the 80s fest. It was the character of Slide, who was the guy in the all-white suit with the goggles. He's like a greased pig. He's all slimed up, and he just slides around. So I'm like, oh, that's ASM 272. I remember that issue. Right. And then we find out that Ned Leeds, who was not the original Hobgoblin, but is a heritage Spider-Man character, actually faked his own death back in the 80s in Spider-Man and Wolverine #1, where he was dressed as a Hobgoblin, killed, not actually a Hobgoblin, but prior to that, was wearing the suit, drank some goblin serum, died, was buried, survived, resurrected himself, spent all the years in between doing something that he can't talk
haven't
about.
Gotten there yet. Yeah, they haven't gotten there
and then he has knocked up Betty Brant, and they're back together, and she's having his kid. So I was like, I'm in. I like it. It's good. It's great intrigue. So
I think this was a plot line from Days of Our Lives.
It was Days of Our Lives with web swinging and punching. So that's fun. I'm in. Rich, you and I can have further conversations if you think I should drop a couple of Quatlus and maybe get into the Sinister War early. I'll lean on you for that one. I'll see what you think about that. Or if you buy the comics, maybe you want to toss me the codes. I don't know.
I mean, I've got some codes. I don't use them anymore. Give. Yeah.
Sharing is caring, Charlie, right?
What did the orange one say? What is it? Not sin qua non. That's without we not. It was quid pro quo, vis-a-vis. All right, I won't invoke the name of the orange one.
I don't know where this is going.
I don't either. I have no idea what's going on here.
Okay, very good. Moving on. That is that's the end of the segment. No, we're moving on. We're paying our tab, or maybe we're skipping out depending on how poor the service was. And we're hopping in another cab, and we're getting off to a Thunderdome to entertain the mutants with week 2 of Shocktober. So let's do it.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome where the mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week, they are sure to be entertained with week 2 of Shocktoberfest. My goodness. Charlie picked this one. So this is a blame Charlie. Even if you enjoyed it, blame him.
I feel like I'm having an out-of-body experience. When the hell did I pick this movie?
You did. It was your pick. You said Wickerman. And I think...
I was sure it was the Nick Cage one with the bees. I feel like I've been hornswoggled. I've been sucked down into the depths.
So that's 2022. We'll watch Wickerman 2, Electric Boogaloo, the Wickering. I don't know what we're gonna call it.
The Wickering.
With Nick Cage.
Knock Doo, Scooby Doo.
Yes. So we watched Wickerman from 1973. It's about a Puritan police sergeant who arrives in a Scottish island village in search of a missing girl whom the locals claim never exists. Directed by Robin Hardy, screenplay by Anthony Schaefer, produced by Peter Snell, starring Edward Woodward, the Equalizer.
The Equalizer himself.
Britt Eklund, Diane Cliento, Ingrid Pitt, and Christopher Lee and his beautiful coif.
Ooh. And that frilly lace cravat cannot be denied in any way, shape, or form.
And the kilt, yeah.
Oh, loved it. I loved it.
The cravat and the kilt on too. That
he was a fashion plate worthy only of Outlander, another show that Todd won't watch.
This is one of his favorite roles that he
really
ever did. Yep.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
Very cool. It was a reserved role. I mean, excluding everything and the way this movie. And let's just get into this. So this movie. I will say at first, after watching it, did not feel like a horror film at all. It just did not have any real gore.
Sure.
there was some fisticuffs a little bit. It was weird.
Yep.
But this movie definitely took advantage of being a European film with enjoying the nudity. Holy
there
cow.
were a lot of boobies in this, weren't there?
Oh my goodness. Folks, if you do not want to show your children nudity, or if you don't want to hear them talk about other religions and their love of fertility rituals, you should skip this movie, because that's what this movie is about. So this is interesting. It kicks off this, Edward Woodward. You see him flying in, very picturesque, in this seaplane, as this weird folk music is the best way to put it, about boughs of barley.
Yeah.
And I had the subtitles on just to see what they were saying. I'm like,
it's
wow,
all
these are
about,
some great
like,
lyrics.
when you kissed a girl the first time in the
Exactly.
barley fields,
A lot of double entendres, I think, in the lyrics at times. But yeah, it was just very, very folksy. They're flying in, and he lands in this village, and it's basically an island, and things just start seeming awry when he gets there, and he has to get into the village, and they do not seem excited about letting him in. He'd have to get a dinghy. He asked for a dinghy. Can I have a dinghy, please?
You know what? And just the allegories all start right there. Give me a dinghy.
I need a dinghy. So they're like, nope, you can't come in. It's private property. The what was it? The Lord
of Summerisle, yep.
Summerisle has to approve it. So, and then
But that was all an act. That was all play.
Essentially, yes.
They were all in on it, right? So that was just a pretend.
Kind of, yeah. So we basically, then this becomes almost like a mystery. Police detective is interrogating, trying to see who this girl was. Rowan Morrison. Was that her name? Rowan Morrison?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
And he's just, and it just, something seems off about this island. It kind of reminds me of Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz had a lot of inspiration from this movie, actually.
Wow.
So did Midsummer, yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of feel, Midsummer, about this kind of weird countryside with weird rituals, and Hot Fuzz, where cops go up to this seemingly idealistic village, and something seems a little off when you get there. So
Lace cop, in fact, yeah.
So
you got that very, like, well, you said puritanical, right? That's
yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he's engaged, very religious. And as we go through this, we kind of see how that plays in basically a view of religion, old world and new world. So, so, I mean, I said, I think one time in our chat, we were kind of talking, I'm like, was this a musical? Because it seems like this is a musical.
It is.
Like this is the unapproved sequel to Hair.
It was just Britt Eklund and her absolutely voluminous nudity, dancing and smacking the walls, and then the next morning she's like, I wanted you to come to me last night, wink. I'm like,
that yeah, that was and she was dubbed too. She has a Swedish accent. That was
really? Okay. Interesting.
I did not know that. Okay.
What I loved about the music at the beginning, especially, you're talking about the when I first kissed the girl, blah blah blah, right? That plays directly into the whole theme of the movie, right? Like, he is there because of his puritanical beliefs. He's there because he is an arm of the law. He represents the king, and he's there because he's a virgin. He's there.
This is the long. Rich, this is like the longest of the long cons.
Right, exactly.
So they planned this.
Of course. I mean, spoilers, guys. We are going to go in spoilers in this movie because,
we're going to spoil a 50-year-old movie, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, buckle up. It's going to be okay.
But yes, to your point, Rich, this was all planned, as we find out at the very end of the movie.
Yeah. Even Rowan's mystery disappearance was planned, and they go to pretend that they're going to sacrifice her. He goes to rescue her, and of course she goes along with it until she leads him directly to the people that are going to grab him and stick him in the Wickerman and light him on fire. So,
goodness, that was quite a conclusion.
But what I love about this movie so much, if I can, is that this movie, the writer and the director, well, the director is actually a co-writer on the film as well, but the writer and the director both saw this as a condemnation of the counterculture movement. The idea that you could run around naked, right? That you could be a hippie and like do whatever, right? And the thing that I love about this movie is that the counterculture movement adopted this film as look, see, this is us rejecting the old and bringing in the new, which of course is the old still, right? The older old, but still,
What's old is new, like fashion. I mean,
New-
you see all these
right.
90s fashions coming back right now. It's nuts.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. This is exactly like that. But there's a scene in the longer cut. There's 3 cuts of this movie. There is the original cut, or the theatrical cut, which is this. It's about 86 minutes long, 88 minutes long. There is the extended version, which is 100 minutes long, and then there's the director's preferred cut, which is 95 minutes long. The preferred and the extended have a scene where you see Sergeant Howie on the mainland, and you realize that it's not all just about like his religion. It's him being like this word of the law kind of a guy, right? He sees a some graffiti that says Jesus saves, and he orders people to remove it. And you kind of get this feel right off the bat why they brought him in there, but it also bogs the movie down a little bit. So I see why they cut it. I don't know. This movie's been cut to shreds by the producers against the director's wishes, which, I guess it's a shame. But to speak to your point, Todd, you said this doesn't feel like a horror movie, but if you consider that by 1973, most horror movies were still the old horror movies. They were still Dracula and Frankenstein. If you look at the Hammer films that came out in the 60s and in the early 70s, we were still dealing with, the supernatural. And this very much puts people as the bad guys for the first time.
Ooh, very much reminds you of like The Walking Dead or whatever it is. That's always what I go to when I think of, people are the real nemesis. Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the creepier scenes was when he was going to go back. And it was always funny because and I was like, at certain points of this movie, I'm like, stop showing your cards. Stop telling them what you're going to do. Just leave, and then bring in the cops. Nope. Right. I got to tell you, I was going to bring you up. I mean, yes, he is definitely an authority figure, and that's where he's dealing with it, and of all these restrictions and battling with basically religion and all these things. I'm like, dude, you're not going to convince them. They've been here for centuries. It is what it is. Just leave and then bring back whoever you need to bring. But it was funny because the one freaky or creepiest was when he was going back to his plane. And you saw all of the members wearing their masks, and they would pop up. That was kind of creepy.
That was, definitely. What I thought was great about this movie is that he's hunting for Rowan, and they're hunting him. Right? They bring him along, and they try to play with him, get him to do exactly what they want him to do. They even tempt him. Right? That whole scene that you were talking about, Charlie, where Britt Eklund was in her birthday suit, is their attempt to make sure that they got the right guy. They want to make sure that if he won't do it, then they got the right guy. But if he does, then maybe they just give him the bum's rush. Say, oh, look, hey, Rowan's here. We got to go. See you now. Okay, bye-bye. We solved it, right?
It seems like in the final analysis, sticking to your guns with virginity is lethal. So that's my
apparently he's like he was like the 35-year-old virgin.
If a busty blonde is dancing around, slapping the walls, and your other choice is being burned alive, I think you guys know me. I'm Sleazy C. You know the direction I'm going in.
Hindsight is 2020, though, dude. Hindsight is 2020.
Exactly.
At that point, he was probably thinking, while he was sitting in that Wickerman, he was probably thinking to himself, man, I should have banged
bad idea. Bad idea, Jeans. But it was just the very end, though, where it's like the fact that he had to not be sleeping, realize they were going to knock him out because he was listening, then steal the guy's costume, do all of these things. Like at any time something could go completely awry, and it didn't, and it was just like, yep, we solved it. Yep, it's like that's the longest of the cons. My
goodness.
Jigsaw couldn't have come up with a better plan, Rich, as we talked about on a certain episode of your show.
Yeah, that's true. No, I think that was just a fortunate accident for them that he managed to wake up and knock the guy out and steal his punch costume and join the party. I think that they were planning on him getting to them later, but it just happened that he managed to figure it out earlier.
So Charlie, any last words on this film?
You guys, it was a departure for me, and Todd, again, being used to kind of the typical horror films and the jump scares and the blood and the whatever it is, definitely more psychological. Like you said, it was a long game from stem to stern. They ended up with the right guy for the right purpose for the sacrifice they needed. It was April and I did a lot of looking at each other like, where's this going? Where's this going? And then, yes, it was finally, and again, revealed in the end. So definitely a departure for me. Glad I watched it, but, and not just for the nudity, because I did enjoy that. But again, for the psychological, the psychological and the quasi-religious, wild journey of belief that this movie was. So I'm glad I watched it. It was definitely a departure for me.
Yeah, and Rich, obviously, this is a favorite of yours. So, I mean, you've seen this probably many, many, many times. Did anything stand out to you this time that you watched?
One of the things that I absolutely love about this movie is the idea of your greatest fear coming to fruition, right? Like pagans taking over the world, right? According to them, but then again, according to the director. But that actually, I love this film because of its subtlety, right? Because if you go back and you rewatch this movie, now I don't know if you guys are going to plan on doing that, but if you ever do, go back and watch it and pay attention to the background. See what you notice. There are things in the background that you will notice that give you more depth to the story, give you more of an idea of where things are going now that you know what the end game is. And I think it's a well-constructed film. I think it definitely, like you said, Todd, influenced films like, Hot Fuzz, influenced, Midsummer, influenced a bunch of films. It also took the idea of making the main character the victim. And that's been done 100 times since then. Hadn't really been done before. But now, main character is the victim. That's a big thing. They love that. Horror movies. So, yeah, love this movie. That's one of my highest recommends. Good flick.
Awesome. Cool.
It is interesting. I was going to say, it is interesting. It's a police officer in England. They don't carry firearms. So, Once again, he has really nothing to protect himself except a lot of arrogance. And he's going to write your name down in his book and then go back to the mainland, which is funny because he kept on. And it is interesting how all of these things came together. I do have an appreciation for the way the movies were made in the 70s and 80s and 60s.
Right.
Like we watched what is it? Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Charlie?
Right. 78. Yeah.
I love that film. It was just, very cool. So I always like putting in some classic films in our watches just so we can feel like, yeah, it's not gory, it's not doing all the modern things, but it is doing some things that you just don't see these days. So I like that. I like just the Edward Woodward his performance was fantastic. Christopher Lee, totally aloof, totally doing his cool guy, which you don't see a lot because he's always so overbearing and just creepy, but he's just like, hey, I'm a cool dude. I can dance. I can wear a wig. I can do. And he's like so confident. And I like the one thing when he says, Edward Woodward says, and if it doesn't work when they kill me, they're coming for you. And he's like, it will work. I'm like, are they paying attention? Are they taking notes? Like, we'll kill him next, right?
Well, he speaks with that authority of a religious zealot who knows what's going to happen in his head, right?
Yes.
And that's one of the beautiful things is that you've got two zealots going at it here, right?
Pretty much. Pretty much, yeah.
It's a zealot off. Good stuff.
Very much so, yeah. So check out Wickerman. From 1973. It's on Amazon Prime. That's where we watch it, so it's free for anybody to watch. There are other versions, obviously, that Rich talked about, so you can probably buy them if you want those other versions. So check it out if you're interested. So, gentlemen, Rich, should we even bother with your score out of 10 Wickerman?
Out of
how many bees? How many bees?
Oh God. Well, but guys, if you rent the 2005 or 2006, whatever, what is with Nick Cage on the internet, you will not get the scene with the bees.
Ooh.
It's been cut out.
What?
It's only in the extended version.
What?
The bee part is in the extended version.
How did they get all those memes then? How did they extract the memes from the
Hold on,
bees?
watch this. 2, 4, 6, 7 thumbs down.
7 thumbs down. Wow.
Wow. So
I'm not
so
a big
out-
dog
outside
listener.
of so if there's no
No baby.
bees to be found, Rich, what would you give it? How many hairs would you give this film?
I would give this 9 out of 10 hairs. Yeah.
Charlie, how many hairs would you give this film?
I'm somewhat indiscriminate, but I'm going to go with 6 because I feel like I need to enhance my understanding, but I don't want to put it below the slash.
I'll give this one a 7. I was just my major disappointment was I was expecting something else because I was thinking there was more sinister elements versus just the sacrifice to bring in the crap. So I would say I'll give it a 7 because I really like the aesthetic. And there we go. And you know what, folks, the music, the maypole song. Oh my God, those kids, the dance scene with the maypole. That's worth the adventure right there.
Are you
Yeah.
saying there was music in that scene? Because that's not what I was focused on.
No, with the
Yeah.
little boys dancing
Oh,
around the
that's-
maypole, Charlie.
Yeah,
That's true.
Charlie,
I
what
was-
were you focused on? In
I
the
was,
You
thinking
look
of I was thinking of the ladies dancing
No,
around
not the ladies at
Stonehenge.
Stonehenge. No,
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 they
I'm talking
didn't
about
have they didn't have their clothes on because they catch fire if you jump over the flames, right?
exactly. Pay no attention. It's a safe
Why not?
contact, folks.
I
No,
guess
the
no
the
contact.
gentlemen and the boys around the maypole doing their dance in the song. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that is a committed musical number right there.
Yep. And look, if you're not into it for the music, come for the nudity. If you're like Charlie and you want to just see the boobies, they got tons.
Look,
There's tons.
you
Oh
know
my
what?
goodness.
I have a theory that I've never met anyone who doesn't enjoy boobies, male, female, gay, straight, what have you. Boobies are entertainment for us all.
The human body is a wonderful thing, folks. There you go. Yeah, so that is it for our show. Shocktober week 2 is done. So this will come out, obviously, on next Friday. I believe the 9th is the Friday coming. At that point, check it out.
8th. Yes, the 8th, yes.
Friday the 8th?
Friday, yes.
It is.
Saturday
Oh my
9th.
goodness.
It is.
You are right,
Right,
Carl.
yeah.
So there you go. But in the meantime, you should check out Rich's stuff. So Rich, tell people where they can
Please.
find your stuff.
Oh,
Please.
you can find my stuff over at Facebook. You can find me on there at Great Disturbances. I think it's at G Disturbances on Facebook. If you look me up there, or that's my Star Wars show, and you can also look me up at view_couch there, and on Twitter, view_couch, or G Disturbances on Twitter as well, or my personal one on Twitter, which is at Rich Davenport 73.
We're the other 72.
The other 72, we're not supposed to talk about those. Didn't you see the New Mutants?
Yeah. You
They've
They've
have-
been
mutants,
sacrificed.
right?
They've been Wickerman.
They've been Wickerman.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've
like,
been,
you know.
all at the same time, packed them up. So, well, cool, awesome, and of
Like
course, Rich
Fordwood.
is my until he goes on vacation, my co-host over at Code 47 podcast right here on this very lovely network talking about Star Trek every Monday. So, Rich is my dude. So,
Trekking it up.
couldn't ask for a better trekker. So, at any rate, friends, that's the end of our show. Thank you for joining us. As always, I'm going to tell you, as always, that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking
Be the hero, not the villain.
in a truck.
The bees! Only on the extended edition.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.